Hey there, and welcome to the Eblan Elixir League Potion Party. We have a Week 2 matchup between Falgran representing the team What's the Big Ordeals and MisterJRPG representing the team Rydia's Rebels. It's all coming down to this. This is the third match for these teams, and the winner of this match wins this week. My name is Sheep Launcher. I am here with our restreamer Dathis, our intrepid tracker Beauty in Discovery, and my co-commentator Yoshi Kion. And Yoshi, this is a really fun matchup. Both these runners running their second race. They kind of had the pressure on them to win one for their team. What do you think is going through these runners' heads?
The nerves are kicking in. I don't know. Different people cope with the nerves slightly differently, I guess, but I would be... You're hard-pressed to find somebody who doesn't get hit by them. Knowing it's the decisive match, you're relying on everyone else to kind of carry you through, and now it's like, okay, you have to win this, you have to take this last call on it, and... I don't know, a lot on the line. I'm interested to see if it affects them, for one. You definitely see some players who have that kind of back and forth panic when the pressure's on, but it should be an exciting one.
It should be. Both of our runners starting with Kane, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see if our runners want to play more aggressively or more conservatively. Kane starts with a Young and an Evil Wall, gives us a hook to start off with. We are underway. We are glad to have you with us. Just as a reminder, to win the game, you got to complete 6 of the 8 objectives listed in the middle there, and of the random 3 objectives, the one that's interesting to me, conquer the Vanilla Ribbon Room. That means you got to go to the moon.
Yeah, Darkness Crystal usually showing up anyways, but, well, no choice on this one. Otherwise, a couple that are, only one item for the package or the Baron. It's not like I was going to say it's not like a hook and a tail where you need 2, but with the starting hook, that would be less of a concern anyways. But
yeah, the starting hook opens up a lot of possibilities. So in the Potion Party flag set, the Magma Key is required to show up on the overworld somewhere. But with the hook, the overworld could actually be in the 2 trap chests on the Eblan path and in upper Babel. So you could get a last chest Mad Ogre chest, giving the Magma Key, and MisterJRPG checking out Baron Inn, finding an Old Mantella with D-Mist. So Baron Inn having a potential bonus round.
And I feel like these are basically the 2 kind of... There's a few different openers that people have gone with, a few different kind of ranges on them, but there's 2 general categories. It's check out your characters, see who you're buying equipment for, and get your money. And we've kind of seen one of each here. Falgran going for the early money through Waterfall, where MisterJRPG checking out that teller, figuring out who's available.
Yeah, the starting characters, pretty interesting. Kane and Yang, what are you looking for in order to get this party up off the ground?
I mean, Yang in particular is one where the gear is so important to him. I think just getting those early power shirts, cat claws if you can, that kind of thing. Kane is always a difficult one. Kane, I love Kane. Don't get me wrong, I love Kane as a character, but like, it feels like sometimes you can find everything for him and he's still unplayable.
MisterJRPG taking a hard look at the armor shop in Mist, finding ribbons there. Ribbons, a very good piece of equipment, but just costs a lot of money, especially right now.
Yeah, we already know the Evil Wall waiting inside Baron, so no, that's always kind of my go-to on the ribbons. Good anywhere, but that extra value there.
Falgran is launching the hovercraft and going to make an early dive into the hook route. I really like this play. It's a free character. You get to check out a couple of shops, get to loot out some higher tier loot, get some extra money to do the rest of your shopping. I really like this early hook dive.
What kind of character are you hoping to see down here in particular at this point?
Oh boy, a lot of characters could help. Remember, Cecil is restricted in this flag set. A Cecil would be really great to see. A Rosa would be, I think, especially welcome. Life potions in the Eblan shop. You know, it's early enough that really Palom can really provide this party with a lot of punch early on. Where he just needs one antlion fight, and he's got level 2 spells that can kind of carry the damage for you early, especially with black shirts for sale in Eblan Cave. Anybody I'm missing that you're looking for?
My only other thought was Rydia, wanting those early trap chests with the potential for the summons. That was my instant thought, but I think kind of hit the nail on the head with Cecil being the primary candidate. You always just want to see that Cecil show up.
Yeah, a Fu would really be great, but Fu's on vacation for this flag set. It's funny, we don't invite him to tournaments. I don't know what he did. Maybe he made bad potato salad for... Well, that is a white mage. That is a Porum. And, you know, Porum, if you want to be a meme about it, Porum is what, the 5th best white mage? Behind Rosa's obviously number 1, right?
Yeah.
And then Cecil is number 2. And then Rydia with Ashura is number 3. And then Kane tossing items is number 4. But we'll take Porum.
Still a better white mage than Tala. We take
There you go. But seriously, Porum could be an early-ish source of exit, although the Tela sitting in Baronin could also be that exit source for you.
One thing as well, Falgran coming down here for the character is not in a position to take these trap chests in this area yet. So that's always one of those things where that is always going to impact your decision making. That kind of like, I don't want to go back there twice in quick succession, so it'll be interesting to see if he then puts off those trap chests for longer because of this early dive for the character.
And look at Mount Hobbs, MisterJRPG finding Dark Imps. So remember, the boss bit is on for all of these Dark Imps. You can't stop them. You can't kind of cheese them, and they hit hard. So this is a real bruiser of a fight early on just to get an Edward. But MisterJRPG gets through it, jumping Kane, not betraying us this time. Well done, and does get an Edward, although Young could really use some experience, did not get it there. Ooh, Zeus gauntlets for sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those Zeus gauntlets are going to make a world of difference for the damage in the early game. And, you know, still carry on being useful into the late game, but especially right now, just a massive boost for these characters that kind of want that early equip.
Yeah, and that is in Agert, a shop that not everybody checks all the time, because it's really a pain in the neck to get back there. Lots of people who just want to stop and talk to you, just want to get in your way, like, I know you people don't have lives, but I've got a world to save. Let me through. So what I'm saying is Falgran, being intrepid, going exploring, and it's really paying off. That Zeus Gauntlet is going to make Kane basically carry this team right now.
Yeah, definitely more on the kind of information side of things right now. We see MisterJRPG picking up a couple more early checks than Falgran, but Falgran, with that early scouting information, can, you know, try to be a little more efficient when those checks start coming in as a result.
Oh, Young's coming back home. That's a... Is he past his curfew? Why are we attacking him? This is where he lives. And that is a twin in the bed on Falgran's side. I believe that is a duplicate Porum. I believe I saw the ponytail on the left side there. Porum, being right-handed, has the ponytail on the left side in bed. Oh, and that Jumping Cane continues to do work for MisterJRPG through the defensive Fabul. And we'll get our first key item check. And that is a way underground. That is the magma key, and suddenly this seed has opened up a ton. That does mean the dream of single dipping Fabul is basically over.
We'll get a lot more information on this one. More checks, more, you know, we'll get to pick up that Feymart's chest on the way down no matter what, and all of that, but also more shops. There's 3 more shops down there now.
MisterJRPG looking at a Charm Claw. Not really useful for Yang, so certainly not worth the cash, but the really interesting item in the Fabul shop, of course, crystal swords for sale. The hunt for Cecil is well and truly on.
I'm always curious, how early do you buy a crystal sword? Obviously, I imagine you want to see a Cecil first, at least. But at what point do you just go and buy it, and at what point you're like, I'll probably get one? You usually finish a seed with 3 or 4.
Yeah, no, I don't buy a crystal sword unless and until I get Cecil in my party. Just way too much cash to send it out. But if Cecil is in my party and I don't have a crystal sword yet, I'm aware that they, you know, especially if I'm going trap chest hunting in the tower, for example, I know the crystal swords will start piling up, but every fight you have that crystal sword for just makes the fight faster, and so I want it as soon as I can afford it.
Yeah, for sure.
And MisterJRPG will be diving into the Antlion Cave. But speaking of shops, we've seen some good cane weapons in shops so far. I don't think anybody's picked any up. I believe MisterJRPG is rocking an assassin dagger, but white spears for sale, dragoon spears for sale. So cane will be, and chat correcting me, Mr. Falgran did buy a white spear, but there's lots available for cane right now.
Yeah, there's Kane looking to kind of carry for now at the very least, and if nothing else, those spears being available, those the Zeus gauntlet, just to really amplify that damage. We might start seeing Kane's tearing through some bosses in no time.
And MisterJRPG just gets an axe for his effort. That's available to sell.
I don't think we saw the deep dive into the Hobbs chests earlier, and that was a lot of money from those.
Yeah, and the west part of Hobbs is one of those places that's weighted heavier, and it really paid off. Even without exit, both of our runners taking the time to explore that and making it worth it. And so MisterJRPG is also going to discover the good news of the Zeus gauntlets. I just love how happy those sprites are when you find something that they can wear. We're like, yeah, I want it. I want one. Gimme, gimme, gimme.
Yang's grin in particular is fantastic.
And MisterJRPG had the cash for 2 Zeus gauntlets. Very great to see.
Noting, but again,
And
odds of seeing an edge at this stage feel pretty low. We've already seen a fair few characters, so pretty unreliable to hope for an exact one at this stage.
yeah. We have seen 5 characters. There are 7 distinct characters in the seed. So we have both runners have Kane and Yong and Edward in the party. We've seen and Falgran also has Porum. And we've also seen Tella in Baron Inn. So we know 5 of them. We believe the sleeping character in Kaipo is a duplicate Porum. And MisterJRPG will be the first to drop the Magma Key down the well. And head on down. Falgran also taking care of the Karate Man invading Fabul. Very noble of him to defend Fabul like this. MisterJRPG heading into the back of Tamra. Not a ton. Yes, that's better. And not gonna check the top dwarf. You know how you want to play the seed, and that's what you got to do. So Yoshi, Falgran did buy a Charm Claw back there, and our tracker Beauty and Discovery noting the Charm Claw is good for trap chests. What's the story behind what the Charm Claw can do to trap chests?
Don't ask me technical questions.
Okay. Well, I think the technical question is that the Charm Claw can lull enemies to sleep or paralyze them or some such thing. And the trap chests don't have the boss bit. So they can be affected by status ailments. So yeah, a good way to stop a Mad Ogre from hitting you is to make it stop moving.
Feel a little less relevant with the assassin and the Kane available for that, but yeah, having more characters that can just neuter an enemy on their own is always going to be valuable.
And they're also effective against giants, Chad is telling us. 4 times damage to giants. So yeah, we're all learning something today. MisterJRPG also got some information about where that warrior's chest is, and now is looting out the Walk to Fame Arch with impunity.
Getting those warriors early is always so nice for the scouting, just knowing you can pick up all of this money on the way down just before you hit one of these shops that can be kind of difficult to get back to. Like, you don't want to make the trek down to the Fame Arch just for a shop item or two. So
yeah.
Being able to pick up this money on the way down, do all your shopping on your first visit there, and then not worry about coming back until you're fighting the bosses.
And
just a really nice benefit to this.
And just gobs of money. I believe I saw some really big stacks available.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, even though the shops down here, unlike some other flag sets, the shops are S-wild. So basically anything can be in the shops. The Fame Arch shops aren't necessarily any better. Oh, that's required. But yeah, once you're down here, you don't want to come down just to make a shop trip. So you'd rather do all your shopping now if you can.
That one is a tough choice, but you're probably not going to pick it up here. Just knowing that you, firstly, don't have the Rydia. Again, that's speculation on single characters. And secondly, well, there are other shops we've not checked yet. There might still just be a Bahamut lying around, and at that point, we care a little bit less about Leviathan.
Yeah. If Rydia is in your party, that Leviathan's a great pickup. Otherwise, just you're right. You have 2 character spots left. Although MisterJRPG is banking on a Rydia being in the seed, she's not guaranteed to be here. A Sparkle and a Dr. Luge.
He's a packer.
A packer. What do you suppose he packs?
The treasure chest full of money?
that must be why he does it. Do you suppose he's a Green Bay Packer? Is he trying to tell us he's a football player? MisterJRPG does want to know who this Sparkle is. It is Pale Dim.
Not the worst one for that spot, at the very least.
No.
Like, not for right now. Not one you're ever going to consider for a while, but not too scared to see. Those two bosses generally, I think, pretty friendly for this.
So, Pale Dim, super annoying at the very least. Singing the song of his people, the but is doable. Not as bad as, say, an Ogopogo in that spot, but yeah, definitely not something to tangle with right now.
Does mean we still have all of the scary encounters left for all of these moon objectives that the seed has given us, but at the very least, not too bad on this front.
Yeah, the only super scary encounter we have seen that we wouldn't want to see on the moon, probably that D-Mist in the first spot in Baron Inn.
Yeah, I was thinking the Dark Imps have already gone, which it still is so baffling to think of Dark Imps as a terrifying encounter, but yeah. You get Dark Imps in Cave Bahamut or on the Master Altar, you'd get scared of Dark Imps pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We have also seen Evil Wall, which is one that could be kind of scary.
That's true. Although, now we have Edward in the party, and Ribbons for Sale, so that Evil Wall is definitely less scary now than it could have been.
Yeah, sure.
And Power Shirts also for sale. In Tomra, MisterJRPG picks up a couple of them.
This Yang is like out here. Glass Power and Zeus. That is.
Yeah, he'll be, just needs a cat claw, and he's good to go for the rest of the seed. And MisterJRPG going to make that self-play to give himself something to do when he gets back in the overworld.
Yeah, of note, didn't save to check the chests on the way in. So that early information on the warriors and the Feymarch chest, not doing the same here. Obviously, it's a little less efficient when you've got all of these split paths, a lot more backtracking, and 7 chests to worry about. But...
Yeah, are you a fan of checking at least the first 2 chests in Sylph Cave, just off to the right there when you enter in the first time?
I tend to do the first 5. I do the first 2 on the entry. I then use the save point and do the 3 in that room, but nothing beyond that.
That's one of those things where the vanilla trap flag would really change the trajectory, because with vanilla traps, you know where the Toad Lady is. And
yeah, I think that's a big thing, is like a couple of the Sylph ones are just kind of free. So if you manage to stumble into one of those on your first trip, you can potentially just heal up, take that fight, kind of get a bit of an edge on the early experience, maybe an early item.
And we have our first French vanilla of the day. Young's wife hands the spoon. She was supposed to be saving that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, Young does not react to getting hit with a spoon. Gotta bonk him with the pan.
What is a pan if not just a really big spoon anyway?
I was saying, I think I would react if I got hit with a spoon when I was fast asleep. You don't need a pan to wake me up. I think there are less invasive ways.
I'm the other extreme. I've slept through fire alarms before. Like, I'm not convinced the pan would wake me up.
And MisterJRPG looks like he wants to head into Baron Inn, tenting up here. So there were tents available, I believe, in one of the starting kits. But this is one of those deciding to use a tent here. The inn in Baron, relatively cheap, and you do have money. So this might be one of those places where I would go to the inn rather than use one of those valuable tents. I don't know if we've seen them for sale.
Yeah, I feel like buying tents always feels kind of like awkward, especially given how reliable like the mages end up being in these seeds. Having Quake for the trap chests or summons for the trap chests is always really valuable. So I'm always on the lookout for those cabins, but I don't think we've seen those.
Kainatsu in the second spot. There are some points where this could be tricky, but both runners now have a spoon word, now have a kitted out Yang, and have a Kane who is doing awful damage. And that turtle turns into soup very quickly on MisterJRPG's side.
Yeah, Falgran taking a hit on the Edward there, so that gonna have a little bit of a harder time on this one, I think.
Yeah, Falgran.
Not having that spoon yet, but
right.
Should still be able to take this, I think, with the amount of damage that Yang and Kane are outputting right now.
Yeah, they're doing some damage on Falgran's side. Ooh, Falgran picked up, I believe that's an Ogre Axe. And putting out damage, but having to use more conventional ways of dealing with Kainatsu, using Thor Rages to... but here's the issue, is if you let Kainatsu hang around for a while, he punches hard in this spot. And
Venus not leading to much there, so kind of starting to run, in a weird way, low on options. There's a lot of checks available between all of the trap chests everywhere. We've still got Dwarf Castle to look at, but there's a lot that kind of feel pretty bad at this point. We don't have a warp user, so going to Dwarf when there are still potential characters available feels kind of shaky. Some of those trap chests can definitely still cause some issues, and it's a real, like, this is the kind of part of the seed where I feel like you will get wildly different plays from different runners, so we might see things really open up here.
yeah, I agree. This part of the game is always tricky to me, like where you don't have the levels yet. You really need to pick your spots and pick your battles, and this really separates the runners, and it will be really interesting to see how our runners react here. And for Salem Mysidia, Thunderclaws. Well, that would have been useful.
Still always a fantastic one to have. We know that there's a doctor waiting down in the Fey March.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of trap chests to hit. I'm a big fan. I don't know what your opinion on this is, but the lower tower, when you don't have the tower key and you don't plan on fighting the boss, just going in for those trap chests and nothing else.
Ooh. See, I am a foremost proponent of keyless tower. Doesn't matter the flag set, although especially in this flag set where the trap chests are available. But yeah, I am always a proponent of keyless tower. The only reason is because it's correct 100% of the time. That's the only reason I'm a proponent of it. Definitely those alerts very doable by this party, especially with Thunderclaw Young, especially with a Kane putting out damage. It's looking less and less likely that an edge will show up, and you probably don't need or you can't get EXP from Sirens anyway. So yeah, why not just take out the alerts when you have the chance? But MisterJRPG going up Ordeals, and I like this play as well. Just got the Tella, will allow you to get just a little bit more experience, get a key item check, and get Tella all of his spells.
Yeah, Ordeal's definitely one that is just kind of made or broken by the seed, and you get handed a Tella or a Cecil, you're probably just doing it. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see Falgran follow suit here.
Yeah, and Ordeals is tricky on a hero seed because Kane as the hero will be going into the changing room all by himself, but he's a big boy, he can handle it.
Oh, Falgran turning into Pinktail and picking up an Avenger here. That is a really big deal with that. Avenger, in a lot of ways, like, yeah, sure, you get the Avenger glitching and everything, but also it's just really good Kane gear.
Oh yeah, that Avenger is huge, and it's time for that Avenger Kane to assemble on Falgran's side. Going to have a really fun Ordeals with that Avenger. MisterJRPG, meanwhile, committing regicide by throwing King Queen Eblan off the bridge, which I believe happened in Game of Thrones as well. But into the changing room. Gets the Baron key. That's semi-required. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get at least a portion of leg. 1/4 portion. And Kane decides he's through with that. So yeah, Ordeals very much worth it, I would say.
Yeah, the Baron key, we're still missing a little bit here. We still absolutely 100% need that Dark Crystal no matter what. But Baron Basement, I guess the difficulty here is that the Baron Basement feels very slow as an objective. If you're not already planning to do Baron, then that is a lot of walking, a lot of bosses. Even if the first couple are pretty easy, then going back in to do that third one.
Yeah,
but the
that's
extra value of just having Baron as an earlier check is like a fairly manageable one at this point, at a stage where, you know, as we were saying, kind of figuring out what your team can handle and can't. Having Baron available now is also pretty valuable.
And MisterJRPG is going to go straight there. It does open up another weapon and armor shop, but yeah, that's two more bosses, another key item check, and I'm a proponent of checking the Baron Basement now. See if you can do it.
Ooh, the heroine robe here. MisterJRPG doesn't know about that Porum yet, so
yeah. And I haven't seen much that would make me want to put a heroine robe on a Porum. I haven't seen really good bows and arrows, for example. So, you know, But as far as Mr. JRPG is concerned, it's a boys' club right now.
Still definitely just something you make a note of, but yeah, not looking like it's actually going to be that relevant just yet.
Falgran through the King Queen Eblan fight. I'm just glad that Edge isn't here to see it. It's gotta be tough for him seeing his parents die every seed.
I feel like that's tougher for Yang, watching himself die every seed.
Well, he doesn't die though. He comes back.
That's true, yeah.
Just whenever you're not playing Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise, Yang just has a low-level headache. And Mr. JRPG is about to climb that wall. So this evil wall, we pointed out in the beginning, saying, you know, if there's an early Baron key, this could be a little bit tricky. Not going to be tricky now. And to answer a question in chat, Falgran did check Rydia's mom. It was just a flame whip. So nothing doing there.
Oh, was that to Rydia having to watch her mom die every seed as well when you go and check demist?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's also a pretty bad one.
Yeah. That is also a bad one. Just, you know, it's a game about trauma and what you do with it. And we love it.
Okay, we get one big zombie on the throne, as opposed to
Yes.
a small army of zombies here.
So, Kainatsu had another thing, so you got another of the 4 fiends to cover for him. And this, as soon as Mylon Z fades away, there will be a character check, there will be a key item check. And yeah, there are 2 character identities we don't know about yet. Cecil could still be out there, and a Cecil would really bring a womp to this party. Instead, it's just a duplicate Yang.
So I've got to imagine on that front, like, you kind of still want to see those other characters at this stage, I think. Probably, at least on MisterJRPG side, having kind of the 4 characters not really doing anything at the moment with that 5th slot. So I feel like Dwarf Castle has to be on the cards pretty soon.
Yeah, and still, well, now that he has Tella, he does have a source of warp, so that's 2 key item checks, that's a character check. Yeah, I think that's got to be high on the list. And that was King Giot and Golbez stopping the wall in Baron. That's a team up I never knew I needed until right now. I need to see the fiction. I need to hear the stories.
People joke about playable Golbez, but playable Giot when?
Yes, seriously. And Mr. JRPG is gonna go into the basement. It's scary down here. There are noises coming. Oh no! Oh, this is awful.
Oh, that is pretty scary.
And Mr. JRPG gonna give it a shot, but is gonna discover
Yeah.
the massive punching action of the Baigen available everywhere. Goodness.
So I think right now as well, we're seeing our first dive into Eblan here on Falgran's side.
Yeah, Falgran's been down here, Falgran hasn't been into Eblan Castle yet. So time to clear out the trap chest, get some more EXP, potentially get key items. And MisterJRPG picking up his Porum. And discovering he has nothing for her to equip. Don't you hate it when you get, like, recruited to the job and then they don't have anything for you? Like, how am I supposed to do the work that you hired me for?
You just can't even provide the uniform? Like,
Yeah. It says here my job description is to hit things, and yet you don't give me anything to hit with. Falgran's side, these ogres are mad, so just tell them to watch the clock for a while.
well, Ella managing to land the stone on the first one already, so...
Yeah, this is a blessed steed for Falgran, the Telelife landing a stone. In the bottom slot, by the way. The middle slot increases Tella's accuracy. The bottom slot got it the least accurate, but does not matter. Another power shirt. So, defeating the Mad Ogres gets you the shirt off their backs.
Honestly, they provide all the uniforms for Yang and Kane in this seed and just nothing for Porum over here.
Yeah, well, I guess we know where their priorities lie. And a pickup of 150 GP in Eblan Castle just feels like an insult. Like, you know, you're gonna give me that little in this spot? Might as well just be empty.
Actually, this Eblan Castle has offered, like, surprising. Even the chests that have had stuff have been, like, the occasional 10 or 20k, but then it's mostly just, like, 1s and 2,000s. Really not offering much here.
Yeah, hoping for a better result from the remaining trap chests, and Porum helped. Porum cast Cure 2 and did double digits of damage. This Staleman's Skull chest is super annoying just because they get so many turns. There are so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't clear out the skulls quickly, you're gonna get overwhelmed. That Stardust really helping. And yes, Falgran does have an Avenger. It was the reward for turning into Pinktail, which MisterJRPG has not done yet.
Also, MisterJRPG on a little shopping trip in Troy here, and I'm curious if we'll see the dive into the Tower of Zot as well.
Yeah, go pet a dog. It is a little less efficient. We're not on a boss hunt of any kind, so there's no reason to check out the first spot there. But there is one trap chest, and it is easy. Falgran did pick up the package. Now, package is long and annoying, and this party we have, it's a doable party for the rest of the seed. However, are you checking it for Cecil?
I think I'm still going there. There's too many, like, Cecil is just incredible. Like, you're gonna take the Cecil every single time, but at this stage, like, I'm still considering the Rydia. Maybe I'm probably taking the edge at this point still. There are enough characters that, yeah, I think it's worth.
So,
And the worst is you can reset it away and just grab it later if it's your final objective.
yeah, well, it is an objective, and it is awesome to be able to end the seed on that objective. But MisterJRPG went up, killed the Flame Dog, got a Darkness Crystal. Hard required Flame Dog chest. In the regular spot, didn't even have to search all that much. Boy, and this seed has taken a big turn.
So the absolute icing on this one is to have the Earth Crystal in the trap chest on the moon or in the giant, right? That's the final straw that you have to dive into the tower to grab those dogs with no Earth Crystal.
Yeah, I mean that's a single advantage play, and not everybody's gonna do it. And we'll see if Falgran does decide to do it at some point. And now MisterJRPG in Castle Eblan, gonna check some things out.
Yeah, so we know that he'll find the package here as well, so just another one of those quicker objectives, which means that you can kind of dodge some of those scarier bosses potentially, and just maybe not need quite as many levels to get through this.
Yeah, I mean, if you can avoid Baigen, that would be nice. And while our runners are kind of searching for treasure and opening up chests, do want to thank our restreamer Adathis, our intrepid tracker Beauty in Discovery, and my co-commentator Yoshi Kion for joining us here on this Sunday. This is a second week matchup between Falgran and MisterJRPG, and the winner of this wins for their team. Falgran, a member of What's the Big Ordeals, and MisterJRPG, a member of Rydia's Rebels. Both teams looking for that big win to kind of set them up for the tournament.
I have to say, I love a lot of the team names in this tournament, but What's the Big Ordeals has to be one of my favorites.
Now, do you say it in a Seinfeld voice? What's the big ordeals?
And then you just want to follow it up with airplane food.
Whale food, am I right? Big Chocobo lives in the forest, lives on the whale. I mean, what's the ordeal? MisterJRPG did learn Exit on Forum. That will be useful at some point.
And yeah, picking up that package from that one, so we'll see kind of like dueling objective setup here. MisterJRPG picking up the package there, Falgran clearing out Baron to make room for that basement, but might be a little disheartened seeing what's in the basement.
Now, the other interesting thing is Falgran going to get the Sand Ruby here. Has the package. Could potentially... so all you have to do in order to get the objective is to burn down the village. You don't have to actually go all the way to Kaipo, fight the boss. Just have to burn it down. So does... Falgran already knows, I believe, that the Sand Ruby doesn't contain anything good, so Falgran basically has no downside to checking the package and then never setting foot in Kaipo again, unless there's a shop he needs there.
Yeah, I can't say I remember exactly what was in those shops, but they've both been back there a couple of times, so I imagine... And if nothing else, you know, if there is anything you want in Kaipo, well, you go there before Mist and just kind of finish up your shopping, and then that's it. You can just ignore it for the rest of the seed.
Falgran throwing the kitchen sink at Mylon-Z. Dancing Dagger only doing 1 damage to it. Which I didn't know that that Mylon-Z was that resistant to the Dancing Daggers, but there you go. Not the first choice.
Also, MisterJRPG, they're getting a couple of life glitches in on the ogres, so definitely setting up those levels now. And kind of makes me think like the reason he's here doing these chests is partially to get to 10 items potentially, but also partially just because trap chests are pretty fast, pretty good experience.
Very much so. And yeah, you also don't know with the key item trap seed on. You also don't know when you're going to find that really essential key item, which MisterJRPG has already found that darkness crystal in the Flame Dog chest, and has already found the package, which is required for an objective in an Eblan trap chest as well. So yeah, basically do everything you need to do all in one spot.
And sitting at 9 key items right now, so knowing, Dark Crystal was go mode, you can go and do pretty much every objective at this point. It's kind of that, how much are you prioritizing those fast checks just to try and get that one more item, boost your experience up, start earning that double experience from everything else you do after that, and then you can start looking at taking some of those bosses down, knowing they're going to reward you so much more.
Yeah, and MisterJRPG finishing up Eblan Castle with the Black Cat. Lamia getting a Dragoon Spear. I believe Falgran did that as well. So now down here in Dwarf Castle, and you were saying, Yoshi, that that Dwarf Castle would be the next place you went to. And it looks like Falgran thinking the same thing. The bosses should be plenty doable at this point, especially with Spoonward.
Mm-hmm. For sure, yeah. Yeah, definitely kind of got a chain of items in the overworld there, kind of followed those through a little bit, but the character information a little less valuable here now, I think. It's almost getting too late in the seed. Like, I think Rydia's long gone at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Edge still on the cards, maybe. Cecil, of course.
So MisterJRPG is heading into the Tower of Babel. MisterJRPG is in go mode. He needs to find levels somehow. And for everything the alerts have, they don't have a whole lot of experience.
Yeah, my assumption here, and maybe this is something we can find out later, potentially, but my assumption here is this is to get the 10th key item from some fast fights that you can just punch through very quickly. These alerts take no time at all. They're not going to give you much experience anyway. And then if you can get that 10th item, any of the Sylph Cave trap chests for experience, or some of the bosses that we still have left, those start to pay out a lot more.
I think that's a really good insight, and yeah, I think taking on these trap chests to get that one more key item in a very kind of low risk thing, and then you can take on the top of tower. Just about anybody who's on the top of tower is going to be doable at this point too. Ogopogo would be tough.
Yeah. And I think there's still some Wyvern potential running around as well.
Mm-hmm. Although the Witchburn flag is on, so you never know. Although, you know what I'm rooting for Witchburn is Glance. That, and then Spoonward starts ripping up your entire party. Oh, the carnage. Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, it's like the extremes of, Glance or White is always a great one to see. But then on the flip side, you could just get retreat.
That is also hilarious. And we're rooting for hilarity here. Oh, and Falgran getting a Waterhead kill with Anna still on the screen. Anna, you missed your exit. You rehearse this every time. And you still don't know your cue. But Falgran is through the bosses in Dwarf Castle. And yeah, I think Anna can join the party. Can't be a worse white mage than Porum.
Just here to hang with Edward. That's all it is.
Another cane weapon hanging around Luca's neck. And there's that crystal sword. Don't need to buy it. Still don't know if it's actually required. Oh, and the Magus sisters are up at the top of the tower playing with their dolls. And now the dolls are going to be playing with us.
So I can't quite figure out, is this a really good spot for this fight or a really bad one? Because it's a very healthy spot for a lot of split HP.
Yeah. So the big doll does take a portion of that HP, but there's still just a lot to go around. With no really good way to do massive damage to everyone, it's something you've got to be really careful of. MisterJRPG walking on that line needs to start taking care with targeting the specific dolls.
And I think he actually went for the front one there, so... What about all of them?
Uh-oh. And... This is the danger zone now. Has to work really fast.
Kane not picking up that kill there yet.
Big doll time. And the big doll does lots of physical damage. The physical power up at the top of the tower isn't the greatest. So you saw Kane able to weather that. So not atrocious. And a miss with a glance. The magic power up here isn't that great as well. So MisterJRPG looks to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I feel like the scariest part of the big doll in this slot is, as we were saying, it's got a lot of HP. It's very easy to kind of put it into that threshold where it'll split down again.
Yeah, if the damage does not come out quick enough, it will resplit and basically have to do it all over again. But that spoon were taking care of business. Well done from MisterJRPG. And as far as key items are concerned, nothing going on in the tower.
Yeah, so still a decent chunk of experience from that boss, but just no boost to it. No, haven't got that 10 key item double experience just yet. And so at this point, where do you go from here? Because you kind of now have to balance, well, I want that experience at some point, but I want to be more efficient with it, and kind of a lot of... The seat's kind of pulling you in a few different directions at this stage.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you ever mention this as an argument against keyless tower being effective 100% of the time, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to hear it. Keyless tower works 100% of the time.
Yeah, this only doesn't work if the tower then has, the legend sword. That's the only way this didn't work.
And so MisterJRPG going to take on Dwarf Castle as well. And Falgran doing some trap chests we haven't seen before, taking on the trap chest in Cave Eblan, the Staleman. Falgran has even fewer options than MisterJRPG has at this point because he doesn't know where the Darkness Crystal is.
Yeah, really just on that item hunt, and also where like MisterJRPG has to kind of figure out that experience balancing, knowing you're in go mode. Falgran's goal here is a lot more simple. It's just, where is that crystal? Find that first and then worry about everything else afterwards.
And unless I missed something, that was nothing important from the Stalemate chest. Not going to go all the way to take on the 4 Mad Ogres.
Yeah, just another holy sword, slightly less good one.
We've got those. We've already picked up, stuff at this secondhand sword store. We've got a scratch a dead Excal at home.
Is this our first check on the warriors, though? I think.
I believe so. I believe MisterJRPG knows where the warriors are, but has not been back down to check out the chest. And so the difference here, in case you've joined us late as we come up on the hour mark, the difference here is MisterJRPG has a Darkness Crystal and is in go mode, and has been for about 10-15 minutes, based on finding the Darkness Crystal from the Flame Dog chest, without the benefit of an Earth Crystal, just taking the hike up the tower. MisterJRPG has done it, Falgran has not.
Yeah, I think whichever side you're rooting for in this one, you want that person to find the Legend Sword. And then, for Falgran in particular, the other thing would be, if he finds the Earth Crystal, that then pushes him up towards that Darkness Crystal.
And so MisterJRPG being in go mode, but go mode in this flag set doesn't mean the end of the seed is right around the corner. You still have to do a lot of preparing in order to get those 6 objectives that will win you the game. But so the go mode includes Baigen in the Barren Basement. It includes King Queen at the Town of Monsters with a Pale Dim who's annoying, Dr. Luge, which is no big deal. But also Unknown, Bahamut, Ribbon, and a Masamune altar. And really, the question is going to be, when does MisterJRPG feel comfortable in starting to run that gauntlet?
Yeah, definitely missing some of those like high power characters. We don't have an edge to start, laying in fast berserk hits. We don't have the Cecil to go off with a crystal sword. Kane is doing a lot of work. Yang is doing a decent amount of work here, but not quite those kind of big late game carries that you might be hoping to see.
And we do have a Spoonword, and we do have 2 characters who are capable of casting Blink, although I don't think Porum has gotten to that level on either side yet. I could be wrong. Hey, we can fight Zeromus now. A crystal from the Rectum.
Falgran here looking for the Darkness Crystal to be in go mode, and we know that if he finds Earth Crystal, he'll get closer to the Darkness Crystal, and this other third one that's just... it's a shiny rock.
It is a key item.
That is true.
That does make 10.
10, yeah, actually. Okay. And Falgran landing at Troya. So we might go see some Flame Dogs here.
Yeah. Strength Rings for sale. With everything else that has been available, don't think it's necessary. Oh, and it's my favorite named enemies in the trap chest. Wall. I like to just take a big old scoop of peanut butter right before commentating on this fight. And just say, whoa. I will kill Momo. An apple would go good with that peanut butter, but it doesn't do a whole lot else.
Okay, I'm not a big fan of like peanut butter anyway. Do apples go well with peanut butter?
They do, yeah. That's kind of a common kid snack. You can kind of make a modified ants on a log if you put raisins on it too.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of ants on a log, but I know some weirdos that like it. And Falgran taking a step like, oh, I know what I got. And you cannot exit out of the Tower of Zot for plot reasons.
So now Falgran, notably here, MisterJRPG kind of gave up on finding that 10th item a little bit. Or, I guess, kind of doing the balancing act of, you need experience and you want that 10th key item. We'll do the fast trap chests and hope you get it on the way through. Falgran, being at 10 items already, can just prioritize that experience, and I would imagine just check those bosses out, see if there's one that you can beat, because nothing really gives a ton of experience like moon bosses anyway, so might as well take two kind of goals down at once, hit those objectives that you need, and pick up the experience so that you can deal with the others.
Yeah, and if MisterJRPG is looking for that 10th key item, trap chests are kind of the only way to do it. You don't get it from summon spots, you don't get it from the moon spots. So you got to go with these low percentage trap chests, and so far, striking out.
Yeah, I guess if you're just prioritizing the items at this point, the places that have like one chest are going to be more useful than the Sylph Cave. Just on the grounds that they're more likely, that one chest is more likely to have it than any one within Sylph. But at the same time, there are more checks here, and also these generally give better experience. It's kind of that hitting both targets at once.
And so Falgran going to take the moon. So we've been sitting on 5 known characters for a while. And so the character up here, fairly likely to be one we haven't seen before, along with that package check as well.
If you can pick up a Cecil here, having already got the crystal sword, and get that slingshot off of
huge
into the trap chest or a boss, either way around.
Absolutely unbelievable. And 10's for sale on the moon.
A couple of elixirs there, actually. That's a really good purchase at this point. You're not really using the money for much else at this stage, and those elixirs can absolutely save certain fights.
Yeah, especially if you haven't seen ethers or don't remember where they are. If you've got the money, an elixir is just as good as an ether. That seems like a really silly thing to say. I promise it made sense in my head. And Falgran is going to check out Cave Bahamut, is confident in his party to take on whoever is down here, or at least to give it a look. And so we're over an hour in. This could potentially be the first objective either runner has done. It is a sparkle. We haven't seen many sparkles. We know where Pale Dim is. And this is these lunars. And they will hit here.
Yep. Bahamut spot hits like an just absolute unit on this one. Just absolutely tears through, and that's a pretty scary fight to see there. There's no good phase, there's no good, D-Lunars give you a lot of versatility in how you fight them, and none of those options are good.
No. You have a lot of slow ways to defeat them. How you want to do it? You want to use up all your limited resources to, you got a couple Star Veils at the beginning. You want to use them all to try and do Lunar Frog strats. And Falgran did return to the blue planet. I think that was a mishit. I think he wanted to kind of at least check out the character and some other things in the LST. He's heading right back to the moon. Ooh, maybe hair dryers first. Falgran is getting those frequent flyer miles.
Notably on MisterJRPG side as well, these Sylph Cave chests are kind of taking a long time because the only, AoE damage at this point is Teller, and Teller's not exactly offering much at this stage, so kind of having to solo punch out every single one of these fights is definitely kind of rough. Not the party for this.
And I believe he has gone through 5 of the trap chests, at least 4, and absolutely nothing. Falgran gonna take on the Procyon Jusleo. There's a reason we call them the hair dryers, folks. And just as a reminder, we do know some of the bosses that are going to be required to win the game. The Queen spot, Dr. Luge in the Town of Monsters. The King spot is Pale Dim. The Baron Basement Throne is occupied by Baigen today. And Cave Bahamut, D's Lunars. So we don't know who's on the Masamune altar yet. There are still some scary bosses out there.
I can only imagine with Falgran going in and checking Cave Bahamut here, we will hopefully, and I mean, for our sake, for Restream's sake, it would be nice to see who's on the Ribbon and the Master altars as well at this point. I'd imagine we'd find that out pretty soon, but gotta pick up some nice experience first. Life glitching these hair dryers to get even more of a reward.
I wonder if they sell teal hair dryers. They have to, right?
Probably.
A nice chunk of experience, and that is an Earth Crystal. Huh.
Incredibly rude.
MisterJRPG does get his his 10th key item on his last chest. Gets the Luca key. No reason to go into the Seal Cave, as already gotten the key item from it. We've already found B-Mist. Absolutely no reason to go down there. But that is 10 key items. And now, MisterJRPG is going to take the walk down to the Fey March, going to take on the King and Queen, and I think he forgot where the warriors were. Nope, he's just taking the path down. Doesn't want to mess with the warriors.
Beeline straight there. If you think you can take them both at this point, then get that experience, start pushing, and no reason to burn some extra time on another chest that you don't need.
And Falgran going to, after that EXP infusion, going to try these Lunars again. 6 Star Veils. And going to throw them up right away to try and set up those Lunar Frog strats. But that Eddie taking a beating.
And we just see the Avenger equipped here, so we're gonna see some viruses come out.
So, D-Lunars have a counterattack where any fight command gets countered with them bouncing viruses off each other. setting up walls and bouncing viruses, and they will hurt you, especially here. Well, not especially here. The magic power here isn't atrocious, but it is still pretty bad.
Yeah, 2 viruses taken with no deaths there, and some narrowly. Porum just about clinging on.
And MisterJRPG is going to take on the Pale Dim. Sing along if you know the words. Another virus on a blinked cane. And with fewer and fewer folks standing. And as chat pointing out, Dragoon Spears would be really, really effective against the D-Lunars. And Falgran should really consider unequipping the Avenger and equipping the Dragoon Spear. Eventually, if he...
Oh. Right on cue?
Yep, there it is. I'm not going to say I have a telepathic link. I am going to say that the world works in mysterious ways. Big hit from Pale Dim on Yong there.
So we kind of joked earlier about how, you know, Porum isn't exactly the best white mage in this format, and it's like, well, better than Teller though, and that's kind of what you're stuck with here. Like, neither of them are really quite able to do enough to carry. So definitely going to be lots of dicey fights here on, you know, how many blinks can you land, how quickly do your mages get hit, because, I mean, Teller in particular is not surviving anything.
No, and Porum and Tella's kind of full-time job here is to keep up the blinks as much as you can, and much more effective than curing. The best cure is one that you don't have to use, basically. It's just a lot easier to prevent damage than to heal it up. And so we are getting all of the do-do-do-dos, but Pale Dim not doing much damage at all to the back row. Porum and Tella, they are armored up. I bet they have ribbons on, which casts a whole lot of physical damage prevention.
Yeah, and just managing to get enough blinks here to keep those damage dealers alive as well, so just Yang taking a nap, but the rest of this fight looks under control on MisterJRPG's side. And talking of under control, Falgran only one breath. That's really unfortunate on the hits there.
It is, and that back lunar is mad. Yeah, just poor luck. Sometimes you can get both breaths to reflect, sometimes you can't. But MisterJRPG has a goal. We have a goal. Our first goal of the seed, he has defeated Pale Dim. Only gets a protector ring from it, but now he is 1/6 of the way to winning the game. And hopefully his second objective will not take him an hour 17 as well.
Yeah, I think taking a quick nap here first, but well, I imagine we'll see that second one very shortly. Pale Dim, certainly the harder of these two fights. I can't see Dr. Luge giving half as much trouble as Pale Dim.
No, I think you're right about that. MisterJRPG is shelling out the big bucks because he's got deep pockets for that Fey Marriott. 1200 GP a night. Who do they think they are?
Do you know the exchange rate on GP? Is this? I guess it's just gold pieces, isn't it? So.
Maybe it stands for like great pennies. I don't know. That fire counter doing percentage-based damage on Falgran's side. Looking a little dicey.
Yeah, very scary situation here, but there it goes.
Oh, he's done it!
That Dragoon Lance doing work here. Kane landing on a dragon, managing to Goomba stomp down some D-Lunars.
Well done. And does get a defense sword, but more importantly, gets an objective. And so now the objectives are back even, just as a reminder. The winner of this race wins this week for their team. Falgran for What's the Big Ordeals, MisterJRPG for Rydia's Rebels. Rydia doing the rebelling, by the way, by just not showing up. And MisterJRPG just carving through Dr. Lugay. He previously did get an apple from one of the trap chests. Unfortunately, not enough to keep Dr. Lugay away. And it's unfortunate for Dr. Lugay, because he is having a real bad time.
I feel like we need that as like one of the kind of boss quick kills, is being able to throw an apple at.
That boy is poison. Never trust a big robot and smile.
So Falgran, by the way, coming back down to the Fey March as well here, so not checking out those other two moon fights just yet. Kind of deciding that, well, there's a reasonable chance that those are scary. These two fights, pretty manageable at this stage, and so grab the experience here and just make it so that those moon fights won't be quite as scary. There are still some options. I don't think we've seen a Dark Knight Cecil yet.
No. We haven't seen a gauntlet.
And then there's always Wyvern just to roll a dice.
Yep. So Falgran using a couple floats on the way down here. Maybe he feels behind, like doesn't want to take the time to stay at the inn. Or he only has tents, so he does want to keep that HP up, I think. Oh, there's Edge! Edge has been available. A dancer, or maybe a Mysidian ruler, is burning down Village Mist today. I don't know if there's a place for Edge in this party anymore.
Yeah. It's awkward because I think we saw the masses on sale earlier, but I'm pretty sure both of them have spent some pretty big money since then, so I don't know if those masses are going to be affordable at this stage.
Yeah, definitely Muras have been for sale. I think Masas have been too. Ooh, getting get damaged by poison text in this fight. Oof. So yeah, we will see if MisterJRPG will complete this trek. He's already gotten the objective complete sign, and the the objectives, by the way, are like London buses, taking forever to get there. But once you see them, then there are 2 or 3 behind right away. And yes, this package was in Eblan Castle, which both runners did complete fairly early on.
So I think to the point as well, chat saying about taking Edge for the darts, and actually I was thinking, like, if Edge comes into this team anywhere, it's probably over the Edward, and actually taking that spoon off of him, making those darts even better. Like, there is room for Edge here, potentially.
Yeah, it would it would be tough. You'd have to find some more levels for him somewhere, but you know, Edge does have that darting ability. And we have found a ton of weapons because Kane cannot dual wield. This isn't an April Fool's race. Kane cannot dual wield, so we have a lot of extra Kane weapons to just throw at people and use them as pin cushions.
The idea of Kane dual wielding, for some reason for me, my mind just instantly went to him like using the spears as stilts.
Like using a spear as a crutch. Stilts would be even better, right? Where do you put your feet, though?
You'll have just
boy.
a big blade and get the foot behind the edge of it.
Well, MisterJRPG is heading back down into the basement to take on this Baigan. And hey, you need a couple of levels on your folks? How about an arm grind? Falgran takes on Dr. Luge to start. And that is the issue with starting with Dr. Luge, is you end that fight with poison, and you don't want to be poisoned to face this Pale Dim.
Notably, they're going for the heals as well, though. I think Falgran used up his last tent before this, so...
I believe so.
We might see... Okay, we're going to see some cure potions. I was going to say, we'll either see some healing or some going into the Pale Dim fight on less health, and that sounds like a scary prospect at that point. MisterJRPG having no trouble punching down Baigan here, and...
Yeah, it does lose out on a level or so for Eddie with that last explosion, but not a huge deal, and all of a sudden, MisterJRPG has 4 goals completed.
Yeah, I feel like it was 10 minutes ago we had no objectives on either side, and now we're at 6 closing in on a 7th.
Yes. Yes, very much so. This our tracker Beauty and Discovery pushing buttons very quickly. Do also want to thank our restreamer Daphis for putting on this what's been a really entertaining race, not skimping on the just general rudeness that we like to see in a tournament game with so much stakes. You know, you want it, you really got to earn it.
That we like to see. I'm sure the runners do not.
And that's something I do want to ask them, like how they've been feeling with just so many closed doors to them that they've had to push their way through. It can't be a comfortable feeling that they've been having for the last half hour or so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said before about the fact that, you know, the teams at the moment are 1-1. This is their second race in this tournament. Potentially, I don't actually know if these runners played during the first week as well, so...
They each did.
Okay, so second race each in this tournament, deciding match. That's nerve-wracking enough as it is. When you then get down to the point of, I have a handful of options left, like, there's almost no way to, like, in a way it's like, you know that you're running low on options, and your only hope is that your opponent has done the same. And, you know, in this situation, they both have, because I don't think there was any choice but to run low on options in a seed like this. But that panic, if it wasn't already setting in beforehand, that'll kick it into gear.
Yeah, very much so. And MisterJRPG, absolutely not interested in any character or anything, going to go to Cave Bahamut. And so, assuming he can get through the D-Lunars, which is not a free fight at all, he's got either the Masamune altar or the ribbon room to go. And so the Masamune altar just won't get checked. Unless there's something absurdly rude in the ribbon room.
Yeah, there's only, again, we've seen a lot of the kind of potentially scary bosses for the seed to have. So there's only really a handful of terrible options left at this stage. One of them maybe on one of those, but you got to imagine at this stage one of those two is going to be pretty manageable with a party like this.
And MisterJRPG haunting these Lunars with that fight command. And so the viruses are coming out. Deciding that Zerked Edward is more important than needing to not be sick. But smartly using, Kane's jump command and Yong's power command, still very much useful here.
Both just surviving here, so the risk of berserking in a fight like this, especially with someone like Edward, is obviously if he gets hit by a couple of viruses and just dies, like, cool, you've just set them off on viruses and got very little gain out of it. So yeah, doing a really kind of important job here and keeping that Edward alive to really get the value out of that berserk as well.
Yeah, so it's putting out some damage, but I believe not. Ooh, that was a really, really nice one. But the breath is still going to be an issue for this last D-Lunar. One of the Blink casters down. Fire's starting to come out, and this is where I'd start getting a little nervous.
Yeah, that was not a lot of health,
And so this fire will wipe out the two, and now it's just Kane. And I don't believe he has a Dragoon Spear on. And, oh, that's a tough one. That is tough.
for sure. And like you said, going in, it's, yeah, definitely still a very difficult fight, kind of mentioned earlier, like, there's a lot of ways you can fight it, but none of them are particularly good, and this is not a very healthy party outside of, I guess, Yang sitting there with a lot of HP, but, well, fire does a number on that.
Yeah. And so Falgran taking on Baigen with a chance to go even on goals, and still has the package check to make.
Right, that's true, yeah, so... We get to see
MisterJRPG, we're finally checking the Moon character. It is a duplicate Porum.
It's certainly not Rydia.
How about third Porum? And Flurry asking a good question. Did MisterJRPG ever pick up the Avenger? I don't think he did. I don't think he ever turned in that rat tail. Or that pink tail, I should say.
Yeah, no, I don't remember seeing it.
And so MisterJRPG is actually going to see what the Lunar Subterrane has. He doesn't have to do that Bahamut Cave. Doesn't have to tangle with these Lunars. Could still be a relatively nice fight at the Masamune altar. There aren't many fights that will be nice. but there are a couple.
Yeah, I can. I'm trying to think, and there aren't really a lot of fights left. We can really
would
kind
be-
of think about the options. But
Yeah, Mylon and Friends would not be bad there.
I think that's one of the better ones. I was trying to think, because we haven't seen... The only one of the fiends we've seen, we saw Mylon Z and we saw Kainetsu, but we haven't seen Val or Rubicon yet, I think.
Correct.
So those can both be pretty terrifying down here. We have Dark Knight Cecil, that would be horrendous. We have the Gauntlet, that would be horrendous.
Yes. Yes. You know, if I were running this seed, I would be hoping for Mylon and Friends. I would be hoping for Octomam.
Yeah. Plague? I'd imagine Plague is pretty manageable here.
Yes. Plague would be basically free. I'm gonna check the White Spear altar. And realizes he walked into the wrong room. Happens to everyone. Not an issue. So Falgran and MisterJRPG having 4 out of 6 of their objectives. Falgran about to pick up his 5th. Still a really, really close race, as you'd want to see for a series decider. And
Asura's not a bad one to find here. I'd imagine you've got wall available, so you can definitely just kind of take the easy way out, put the wall on her, and just not even worry about any amount of healing. And the damage on this slot in particular, just not too much to worry about.
So, I'm trying to think if we've seen anything that would help against mages in particular. I don't remember seeing anything, no mute knives or anything like that. So you basically have to deal with the damage that you have, and it's just a lot to chew through, and you have to be careful to maintain that wall so it doesn't all get undone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not threatening, but it is slow.
Yeah. And if nothing else, it means that MisterJRPG could spend a while on this one, but Falgran also has an option here that he can probably beat. It's just, like you say, quite a slow option. So I think it's looking like this is still incredibly close, and it's going to come down to how good or bad is that Master Altar. If it's pretty much unbeatable, then MisterJRPG is in a worse spot. If it's something that's slightly easier but slow, then this could go either way. And if it's something that is an easier one that goes down very quickly, then MisterJRPG has the advantage.
Yeah, and one of the things we didn't really discuss when both runners were still on the hunt for the 10th key item, the Legend Sword didn't come up anywhere. And that would have been a huge advantage to find that Legend Sword. I believe, Yoshi, you did say at one point, if you're rooting for either one of these runners, you want them to find that Legend Sword. Neither one got it. And so I'm wondering if either of them feels behind for that reason.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you kind of imagine one of your items isn't going to show up somewhere, and I feel like it's always the Forge. Like, the Forge comes up so rarely at this point, but again, it's the closing kind of moments of a seed. You're always there's always that little bit of fear of, like, what could I have done differently? What could my opponent have done differently? And trying to kind of figure out where those edges are at a point where you can't really change anything at this stage. At this point, you just have to play it out.
MisterJRPG takes care of Ashura. Both runners have 5 objectives, and both are within touching distance of that last objective. This is coming right down to the wire, and MisterJRPG knows the stakes here. Not even opening the chests in the ribbon room this will be a matter of moments.
The fact that we're this close to the finish, like they're both at 5 objectives, they're both closing in on their 6th, and I still have no idea who is going to take this race is incredible.
This has been a whale of a race, and we're glad to have you with us. This is once again the winner of this wins this week for their team. And MisterJRPG for Rydia's Rebels going into the altar. Baron guards. Very doable. Not free. They will hit.
Did MisterJRPG pick up any ribbons? Is anyone here immune?
There are some ribbons, I believe, but Edward not one of them, and once he's minied, ugh. MisterJRPG already going to have to scramble.
Mm-hmm. And this is, again, that whole thing of, like, easy or difficult bosses, fast or slow. This is right on that bubble where it's not easy, but it's manageable. It is, however, incredibly slow, no matter what. Like, you're still sitting through those counters, even if they're not doing anything.
Yeah, you can't mute them. They have the boss bit. You can't stop them. And so they will continue to hit, and they will continue to do those magic counters. And as we were saying earlier, no real effective equipment against mages. Falgran heading into the Ashura fight. And so we have double objectives here. And pointing out in chat, the chests in the ribbon room, no chance of having a key item there. The K-Moon flag is not on. So that's why MisterJRPG did not check those chests. And MisterJRPG has stabilized a little bit, but Tell is down.
Yeah, only that one blink caster, but the first guard down. Getting the damage set up on Falgran's side. I'm so glad this seat saved the edges for so late, just in time for everyone to be on the edge of their seat.
So just the back row guard to go. And Kane doing jumps to avoid those counters. Again, another piece of good game knowledge. Falgran setting up on Ashura, but already has 2 folks down.
And, you know, mentioned the guards being slow for all of the counters they'll throw out, having to sit through those spells anytime you have your Edward attack or whatever. Oh, Asura's also going to be incredibly slow. She's still casting all the time. She's still countering every attack, so...
Yeah. And trying to get a little bit of life lock in. Kane taking big damage, but shrugs it off. Feel like MisterJRPG is close here.
Oh!
And there it is!
Guard down!
Just has to get through the EXP to get to this screen, gets a white shirt, has to sit through that, but MisterJRPG has done it! MisterJRPG wins the game with the final objective being the Baron Guards. So close. And takes the win for Rydia's Rebels, who are now 1-1 in the Eblan Elixir League. And we are here with our winner, MisterJRPG. GG's.
Thank you very much. I honestly didn't expect to win. Like, I was just thinking, it's like, okay, I was going into the tourney thinking, no, man, I was going to get probably 0-6, not, clown myself completely, but, want to put up some fight. So I'm just feeling like a little rush of emotions right now.
Well, that was a heck of a seed, and you were searching for a long time for that 10th key item. With each trap chest that wasn't turning up everything, does your anxiety just get worse and worse?
Yeah, kind of. I'm thinking to myself, this was just a big gamble. It's like I'm not even looking for any specific key item, though. Would be nice to get like the legend sword, but I just wanted to, get that 10th key item as soon. And it's like thinking, tower has 5 checks. As soon as I just get 1 key item, I just zip out of tower and just start Silk Grave grinding. And then thoroughly trounced bosses. Then it's like, ooh. So I thought maybe that was the mistake, and Falgran would catch up to me.
Well, and the moon bosses weren't exactly easy. You knew the moon was hard required. And what were you thinking when you first encountered those D-Lunars?
I am not good against D-Lunars, and they just don't have good setup. So it's like I tried, and it's like, and I almost won it, but then I slipped up because I was expecting a virus, but I got tripped up by the fire. So I'm just thinking to myself, nope, one try. Let me see how the other 2 bosses are like. I have flexibility and contingency options. And that guard fight was just a little bit rough because they kept picking on Edward.
Yeah, they sure had it out for the Bard, but in both the Ashura fight and the Baron Guards fight, you really adapted well to a little bit of bad luck and some unfortunate targeting. So that was well done. Tell us about your thoughts heading into those fights.
It's like I thought, sure, okay, I got this set up for that. Not too worried about it. I also did the things in lower speed because, just to make sure I'm in okay. I tend to do that in later boss fights. So that wasn't too problem. The guards were like, uh-oh, science shenanigans. I was much more worried about the guard stuff. Whereas Ashura was a little more free to me, even though it hurt more than I thought she would.
So you made the big play to get the Darkness Crystal fairly early on from the Flame Dog chest. You had it about 20 minutes or so earlier than Falgran did. Once you had that, you basically had go mode. So what were your thoughts on what you needed from there to finish the seed?
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, oh, I got go mode for once instead of key item hunting, but I don't feel strong enough. So from there, it's like, let me get 10 key items. If I get stuff from the other objectives, even better. Hence the whole Tower of Babel trip and the Dwarf Castle. Eblan was a bit of a kill 2 birds with 1 stone, EXP and key item hunts, which ended up getting packaged, so that helped. But just that elusive 10 key item, was just haunting me for that later half.
You got all the crystal gear you could ever want, though.
Yeah. I didn't see a Cecil. And I guess, and I was thinking to myself, and also initially, it's like, what do I want to do package last, or a little bit earlier? So that's why I just suddenly just did it really awkwardly. And I forgot to, unpoison myself, so whoops.
And so you were talking about your expectations going into the tournament. You're finding out you're exceeding your expectations so far. What do you think of how your tournament experience has gone so far?
It's been fun. It's just been something different. I've been kind of curious. I was just curious about it. I got encouraged by a friend of mine, Nikuri, who's going to be doing the upcoming race. And it's like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. I don't have much expectations. It's like, because as I was kind of saying actually in the last week's stream, it's like, I play too many games, so I'm not super diligent on one. It's like, I do, play enough just to, get myself kind of, understanding some of the quirks and mechanics and stuff, but not go, super results crazy. I just think to myself, whatever happens, happens, but, at least want to put up a fight.
Well, I'm hoping you're looking forward to the champagne shower that will be falling on your head for winning week 2 for Rydia's Rebels.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just a little pressure there. It's like, oh, both of us were 1-1. It's like, ooh, the team is relying on us. Some goof. Maybe they don't care that much. It's all in good fun, but winning is nicer.
Winning is always fun. I agree. Yoshi, you have any questions for MisterJRPG as he gets us over to music?
Nothing much. I guess the only other thought was like towards the end, seeing that edge, what was going through your mind at that point? Because we kind of debated, do you pick up this edge or do you ignore it at this stage? And kind of where was your mind on that one?
Yeah, it's like, too late, and I could use Tele for Blink and Berserk utility. I got it pretty much set.
Yeah.
It's like I could work with what I got. I feel pretty good about it. The extra DPS is not going to do that much, or maybe darting would have helped, but just want to play it safe.
You certainly had enough darts there. Well, MisterJRPG, GG's again. Congratulations on the win, and we look forward to seeing you again in the tournament. Well done.
Thank you very much.
GG's, congrats.
Take care, everyone. Have a good day.
The official time for MisterJRPG 1:42:26, and Falgran has finished with a time of 1:49:43. Such a close race. Falgran did have a little bit of trouble with Ashura there, but collects himself and takes care of Ashura to finish in second place. And we are joined by Falgran. GG's.
Hey, thank you.
So that was a seed where there were a whole lot of rude bosses and a whole lot of rude places.
There really were. I was with my party setup. I got lucky with a few early item finds that made them slightly less hair pulling. But yeah, the Asherat ribbon altar was a very rude surprise.
Now you found.
I was going to say.
Sorry, Yoshi, go ahead.
The thing there is the one kind of big difference that you had going through in most of this was you turned in that pink tail and got that Avenger, and so getting that extra damage output was great, but then running into fights that then kind of punish you for attacking starts to become a problem. And at that point, there weren't many fights left by the time you're checking the moon. Was there anything in particular you were hoping to see there? Anything you were absolutely terrified of running into at the end?
I was holding my breath that DKC was not in that spot. If I saw DKC in that spot, I was gonna go check further down. But other than that, once I saw the early Odin, I was a little less worried about that spot. But not knowing where the Pain Knight was definitely was in the back of my mind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You found Go mode legitimately about 20 minutes after MisterJRPG did. Did it feel like kind of a last location for that darkness crystal, and did you feel behind at that point?
I did. I was starting to get worried. And it was basically like, okay, what else can I do to not dive Sylph Cave? And I happened to remember I had not gone to go see the dog. So I'm very glad I did, because it would have been disastrous for me to touch anything in Sylph.
Yeah, Sylph definitely did not have much of anything of value. There were two key items in the whole Sylph Cave. It was It was not fun. But yeah, once you got that darkness crystal, you really ramped up the speed and got going.
Yeah, the only other thing my only other objective was to hit hair dryers. Especially after I saw Demus at Cape Bahamut.
then
And
the
so,
hairdryer being
when
rude
you-
enough to give the earth crystal after all of that.
I'm sorry.
And then the hairdryers after all of that being rude enough to give you the earth crystal.
The chuckle I let out at that point was was like, okay, all right, I see what you're trying to do right here, game.
And you hung out on the moon for a long time without checking that moon character. You had your party. Was it that there was nobody who could have potentially been there that you even wanted to consider at that point?
At the point where I had gotten the darkness crystal, I was pretty comfortable with the group I had, especially having a spoonword. There wasn't really anybody at that point in time where I was gonna be like, okay, I have. Ironically, if I had checked the package earlier, I would have ended up with an edge. But outside of that, there wasn't anybody I was really like, okay, this is really gonna help my team further than it already was going.
Well, the last question I have is we were talking about your team. What's the big ordeals? Unfortunately, going to 0-2 despite some really great performances. I wanted to ask who was responsible for coming up with that team name because it's fantastic.
All credit has to go to my brother Raquette. He actually came up with a whole list of pun-based names, and that was one we all liked.
Well, GG's to Raquette as well for the great team name. Yoshi, any final questions for Falgran?
No, I don't think I've got anything else to add other than, GG's on an incredible race. Absolute nail biter at the end there. So, yeah.
I felt like at that point in the end, it was all down to that last objective, and then once I wiped on that Ashura the first time, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you were both in the final boss fight at the same time. MisterJRPG taking on the Baron Guards who were at the Masa spot. It was twists and turns all over because those weren't easy either.
Cool. Well, it was a good race. I'm very happy with my performance, and thank you guys very much.
As you should be. GG's once again, Falgran.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty. I guess with that, one last thank you to our runners, MisterJRPG and Falgran. Definitely worth following both. Our restreamer Dathis, tracker Beauty and Discovery, making sure everything holds up on the back end. Streams would not be possible without countless people pulling everything together to work on those. And Cheap Launcher, my co-commentator. Thank you for a great time on comms.
Yes, and thank you, Yoshi. And give all of those folks a follow. We are going to head over to the doubleheader race that is going on right now. So we have Nitsi versus Nikori. We have Flossy Fern versus Bangagong. 4 different teams on 1 seed. This is going to be a heck of a lot of fun. More potion party action. So we hope you'll join us over there. And until next time, for all of us, so long.